This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you in part by Xero. Xero is a powerful cloud accounting software that improves efficiencies across your practice. With all client data stored on a single unified ledger, you and your clients can easily access and collaborate on the same set of books. Xero's advisor tools and automation solutions reduce time-consuming manual tasks and put data entry on autopilot. Work faster and more efficiently than ever before with Xero. Visit xero.com/accounting insiders to learn more. Welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast. My name is Gary Dehart. I am the host of Accounting Insiders podcast and the publisher, managing partner of Insightful Accountant and Tax Practice News. My guest today is Matt Kanas, hailing from the greater wilds of Toronto. Matt is the managing director of the Americas for Ignition. And Matt, welcome. Appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day.
You bet, Gary. Thanks so very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So we have a few things we're going to cover, but before we dive into, and primarily is around a recent survey that you guys commissioned. But before we do that, so I know what Ignition is, but I don't know that everybody who's listening to this or have exposure to this does. So let's start there. What is Ignition? And then let's roll from there.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm sure there's a few of the viewers here that you have that knew us from the former name Practice Ignition. A couple of years ago, we rebranded to Ignition. And, I think for the most part, the industry knows us as a proposals to payments platform. But, when we've looked back in, speaking with our customers and getting to learn how they view us, and of course, all the sort of progression that we've made with the product, we really do see ourselves as what we're calling a revenue generation platform. And that's for the accounting professionals and service businesses. And what we're trying to do is really sort of spark greater efficiency and profitability for accounting firms and those professional services. And how we do that really is enabling them to package their services the way they want to. So the way they speak and however they want to communicate that to their customers, their clients. We enable pricing against each and every one of those line items that are, the services that are in that package. Okay. And then from there, automating the payments for each of those. And, a lot of folks know us as a platform that enables that upfront billing. So we've always really pushed that idea of having that subscription model, that monthly recurring revenue model. But we know that not everyone wants to do that. So we've got about 71 various permutations about how you can bill your clients. So if you're still doing hourly, we can handle that. It's tax season right now. We know that a lot of tax preparers like to do 50% up front, 50% on completion. So we handle that. So really what we're trying to do is drive that efficiency, drive that profitability and greater revenue. And that's all done through communicating your services, your pricing, and everything through that proposal, through that engagement letter, and then automating that payment. So you're not leaving money on the table at the end of, say, tax season, when we know a lot of accountants and EAs are going to be going out and collecting because there are just so many older ways of collecting. And we know that, checks are still a big thing. So we're out there just to sort of say, put that on autopilot and collect automatically and ensure you're getting the money that you're owed based on that agreement that you have with your client that that the proposal is stated.
Right. We'll talk just a little bit about product and then we'll go in so what's the typical client for you guys? Is it a small firm, mid-size, large, all of the above?
Yeah, it's really, when we look at it, I would say it's that sort of that mid-size to larger firm. We do help the smaller firms. We really do find that a firm that has, anywhere from that 1 to 20 employee, they've got defined services. They're connected probably to a cloud ledger or using like a ledger from, say, TR or CCH. And they've really had, there's the probably multi-service firms. So you've got a little bit of CAS in there. You probably are still doing a lot of tax. You're probably moving into maybe tax advisory services. So that's really sort of our wheelhouse. And we have a wonderful partnership with Intuit and wonderful partnership with Thomson Reuters. And we're finding that the clients they're serving are really taking to Ignition. They're using it, and we're seeing that they are adopting the product very quickly. A lot of those folks are doing tax, but we know that the industry is in sort of that ever a state of change and moving to advisory services. So we're really helping the industry move forward with advisory because of what I was just explaining around helping you with packaging and pricing. And a lot of that packaging, we have templates that have been developed by industry leaders like Don Brolin, Eric Green, and being able to say, oh, okay, so that's how you actually say what it is that I'm actually doing, and then applying a price to that. So that's who we serve, and seem to be adopting the product at a rapid pace.
Okay. And is it 100% focused on the accounting profession or other professional services?
It's interesting. We started in that accounting space, but we found that wonderful network effect between our clients and their customers being in.
Yeah.
So a lot of professional services are starting to use Ignition.
Okay.
And we're looking at how do we scale ourselves up to serve them. Still lots of work to be doing with the accounting industry,
Sure.
but we see consultants and coaches, marketing firms, and even the likes of like trades, sort of that higher value trade like HVAC, electricity, and plumbing that are adopting it because they're going out and they're quoting, and they want to be able to just collect that payment automatically.
Okay. All right. One more, maybe two more. One more question, product specific, and that is the onboarding process. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So post sale, what we're doing right now is it's really a white glove service. So if you are, if you've gone through our sales team, you're going to be handed over to what we call our key account managers. So you're going to get a lot of that one-on-one onboarding. So we'll go through how the product works, and then we'll get into sort of that what we call that workflow process. So Ignition is an incredible tool for you to be able to initiate various workflows within your firm, whether you're using Carbon, whether you're using, say, ProConnect from Intuit, or you've got, say, MailChimp via QBO. We're able to trigger various workflows once that agreement is signed from your client to really automate your firm. So our key account managers will not only get you through how you onboard with Ignition, get your bank account attached, get the ledger attached, but also how to build out those workflows so that you can create that efficiency within your firm, which is ever critical, especially as we look to 24 and 25.
Right. Okay. That's a great segue. So technology, it's impacting all of us every day, everywhere we look, right? And don't have that much exposure to other markets, but I can't imagine that they're not getting inundated with AI and the opportunities there or the challenges there, depending on which side of that coin you look at. So you guys did a recent survey and kind of the results for the year of change management. So can you touch base, kind of highlight, kind of the top features? I think you did do a post. Sorry, I'm going to look up here because I do have that in front of me here. Kind of the top level, and then we can just kind of touch on some of the points that you covered in this kind of wrap up.
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, we went out and we surveyed 100 accounting firms. So those are the owners or principals of those firms. And what we found were there are three top challenges that they're going to be facing in 24. So number one is staff shortages. And I'm sure that we've all heard about how the CPA environment is changing. We're not seeing the numbers coming through into universities. The graduates aren't going into the larger firms and sort of cutting their teeth, or becoming entrepreneurial and starting their own firms, or joining smaller firms. So the industry really is in flux there, and that's going to be causing, I think, those firm owners to really think about, okay, what does new talent look like? Is it that traditional talent, or do we have to sort of go a little bit broader? And I think we're seeing, if you look at AICPA and how they're talking about it, you notice that the larger firms are investing time at colleges to understand, like, who else could be joining these firms. So that was number one. Number two, and we've heard it for years now, Gary, is inefficient and sort of manual processes. And that, to me, when I look at that, it really does come down to there's a lot of busy work. There's a lot of manual processes that are taking up too much time. It also tells me that the workflows, like what what to that owner, what does a workflow look like? Do they understand? Because that's a term that's thrown out in the industry nonstop. You'll say,
Right.
automate your workflows, automate your workflows. But at the end of the day, if you were to ask, I would say on the floor of like a QuickBooks Connect or Scaling New Heights, say like what workflows are you implementing? Like how are you thinking about that? They, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm using a product and it's all in one, so it does everything for me. That's my workflow. I'm like, well, I'm not sure
Right.
that's exactly it, right? So that's an insight I think that we all need to sort of digest and say, okay, now how do we talk about that in 24 and beyond to help the industry really understand how can you automate, how can you create efficiencies? And it's not just data in, it's not just sort of working with your client in the ledger and syncing that, or having that all-in-one solution do everything for you. It's much more, as I sort of touched on about how Ignition can trigger that, but
Hmm.
it's something that we're going to be digging into as we speak to our customers this year and help them with our key account managers build out those workflows. Then finally, there's too much client work, and again, that to me is telling me that's the busy work. So there hasn't been any sort of monumental change in how firms, especially through tax season, are servicing their firms and this is their clients. And you've probably sat in on any number of breakout sessions, Gary, or you've talked to any number of the folks that I know you talk to on the regular for the podcast and beyond. Is in order for a firm to find that efficiency, they have to get rid of the busy work. And the busy work really is probably just regular client work, but there's too
Right.
many clients, right? And they're very demanding. And so that comes down to how are you going to build out um, that that package of all the work that you're doing and price it accordingly so that you're working with those high value clients only that value the work that you do for them, and you're spending that time in a way that is beneficial not only to you and the firm and the client, but your employees. So if you look at the three things that I highlighted there, is that you've got staff shortages, you've got inefficient manual processes, and too much client work. If you flip it
Right.
on the head, if you start work with like high value, lower volume client work, that's going to probably lead to more efficient and less manual processes, especially if you look at your tech stack and how you implement that.
Right.
And staff shortage probably isn't going to be happening because you've got a staff that looks and says, okay, this is a firm that is working really well. I can see the benefit of it. Maybe they're going to be adopting, like Don Brolin's been talking about with TRN, like the 6-hour workday,
Right.
even through busy season. This is something that's achievable because you're making great margins on the work you're doing. You're keeping people intellectually involved in the work that's being done, not just data entry and so forth. And you've leveraged the technology, AI included, to help automate a lot of those tasks you don't want to do, and it just speeds things up. So it's all sort of it all works together in service to building out that firm that's ideal. But there's a lot of things that we got to overcome, and it includes a mindset that requires you to think about and be brave enough to make some of these changes.
Yeah. And it is interesting, right? I mean, it's no surprise that the accounting profession, certainly in the US, is uh, looks a lot more like me age wise. Maybe they have more hair, maybe they don't, but um, and we're not necessarily tech first.
No,
As it's just not how we grew up. Versus the
no,
people they're trying to hire, or people they want to hire, are tech first. And so if that tech first person goes into a firm and it's this is old school, but you got the green ledgers there, they're
yep,
probably not going to be too interested in working with you.
no.
And
It's true, Gary. But what's interesting when it's sort of a side note is what you're seeing too within the profession is these brokerages that are popping up. So they're looking to create that conduit between the young entrepreneurial accountant looking to buy a firm and the firms that are in existence. And so, if it is like an older firm, what they're helping that older firm do is digitize and build that
mhm,
tech stack that then would make the firm more attractive to the younger entrepreneur. Because I mean that right there is your retirement, right? And so you don't want that. You just don't want to sunset that and close the doors. So if you can get to that, if you can future proof it, then you're in a much better spot. But it is super challenging. And I think it goes back too to, who are you going to hire? Are you going to be hiring the accountant, or can you find someone who's not a CPA, hasn't done a lick of tax education or accounting education in their life, but they're IT and they get it. And they
Right.
say, okay, so in order for this firm to evolve, you're hiring me. And you see this with some of the firms that are trying to think of an example, any number of them. We've actually hired a couple of these individuals who have worked at the firm and helped build out those processes and the tech stack. And that has put the firm in a very good situation. But again, that's a really forward thinking hire. Say, okay, I need you to do this for me because I just don't have the capability or the bandwidth to even think through that. And even the larger firms, I think of like M&P, for instance. There's an old friend of mine from the Intuit days who's basically helping build out the cloud practice. He's a salesperson, but he got to know how to build out a tech stack, and now he's helping them build their cloud practice. And it's slow going, but it's happening. And so
Right.
it's great to see that when you see a larger firm being able to tackle that problem and see success there.
Yep. Yeah, I had a conversation this week very similar to that. The guy, he actually went to college for golf course management,
Yeah.
and and then ended up getting hired in an IT role, and and now he's basically he's running the IT side for RLB. You know those guys out of
Yep.
they're based in Ontario, right?
They are.
They're in
Yep.
Ontario. So he runs their that's RLB Digital, and but funny enough, he wanted to be a golf course manager.
The places you'll go, like
Right.
I'm a history major, and here I am, right? Like it's incredible the paths we take.
Right. Yeah. And his was very much driven by, an interest and just a natural, lean towards that technology. And we talked about the automation. And so you were mentioning before just about, oh, we have workflow. Well, you do, but do you really? Are you really leveraging that workflow? Our company is currently in the process of onboarding HubSpot. And
Yeah,
as they, as things have been migrated and moved, hopefully it's going to be done Friday. Um, we're starting to see a little bit more of the capabilities of that tool. And
yeah,
there's the automations. There's where we're saving time, and there's where we can triple engage with our audience without
yeah.
having to lift a finger with a little bit of work on the front end.
It's
And
exactly it. Yeah, it's incredible. And then once you have that person explain it to you, and you get it part of that day to day, then it's like, how did I go
right,
like all those years before without this?
right,
And that's and
right.
that's it. And going back to the survey, one of the things that we also found is this idea of scope creep, right? So scope creep, of course, every accountant, every firm has seen it, where you know, in our survey, we saw that about $80,000 was left uncollected because of scope creep. So that's
Wow.
work that happened, was built, and was never seen again. And so when you think about that, it tells me that there is sort of like a diagnostic that's not happening. And that's really around the workflow at its core. Um, the client has called you, you accept the work, and you do it, and maybe you didn't bill for it, or you did bill for it and then it went uncollected. And so you're not pinpointing where is this leak within my firm, like why
Yeah.
why is this happening. And I think again, that is another one of these, when we think about the change management, is looking at what are those old processes that we were doing that are leaving us in a bad way. And so when you look at that scope creep, it's a very scary thing, and it's probably a thing you don't know too much about. You've done the work, you haven't collected on
Right.
it, but you don't know the value of it per se. And if you look at what scope creep is, it's actually a really good thing. Not the way I describe, but it's a signal from your clients that you're doing great work and they value the work that you're doing. And they're
Hmm.
probably in a lurch, and they've realized that the only person they can contact to help solve a problem that they have is the accountant.
Right.
And so being able to monetize that scope creep is essential as we look at what you're going to be doing, especially now in tax season and beyond, especially and too, like when you're looking at CAS services and value-based pricing and how it works there. So that's another one that we need to address as a profession, because frankly, that's the stuff that goes back to those 3 points. Your employees are going to be seeing that you're doing the work, or maybe you are the employee that's doing that work, and the firm owner is seeing that you're doing stuff outside of that. It's gonna kill talent, and it's it's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be good for anyone's profession.
Right. So I think
Yes,
in your survey, there's a bullet point on that. I think it said 82% are excited about it, but only 25% are willing to invest in it. What do you think that is? What's your gut tell you? The why?
I think it goes back, Gary, to what we were talking about earlier, right? I think AI is, I don't want to say scary, but it is something that's like, what is this going to do? Because we heard
Mhm.
all the news of the upfront, right? Like AI is here, it's gonna, your profession is going to change, you're going to be out of a job, all the horror stories, right? We
Right.
think Terminator 2, Skynet, it's going to be sentient soon enough, and that's not the case. It's like anything else, right? It's going to be helpful. It's actually going to get you to a better spot, but in order for AI to be valuable to that firm, I mean, anybody who's played around with ChatGPT realizes that, oh, you have to become almost you have a PhD in prompting for you to get the result that you want. So, you have to learn a new skill set on how to effectively use it. Now, the good thing about AI in that sort of area where it's going to be a little bit scary is you really don't need to go super deep in how you can use it in your firm. I mean, I think folks like Jason Statz is doing an excellent job in explaining how you can deploy it within your firm. But I think it's more incumbent upon the vendor, like Ignition, anyone else, to apply AI within the software itself. And that
Okay.
way, you're using it and you don't really know you're using it, but it's helping you dramatically. And like we intend to deploy within our services. So you import, information from QBO or Zero, and then we can determine, okay, here are the services that this firm is offering, and then we can help through what we're building to really define those services from the ledger import, but also make them sound better, right? So that's you're not going to have to spend a whole lot of time. And we're seeing, QBO do some remarkable things. They shouldn't be scary, and I think that's probably why people are saying I don't want to use it just yet, because it is scary, but it's there to help, and
Mhm.
it really is incumbent upon the firm to say, okay, how deep do I want to go, and how can this help me? And if I really want to make a change in some of these mundane processes that I know I'm going to have to do, this is a great way to do that. I mean, I talk to people on the regular how they're using it. The number one reason I hear people using it's in year-end reviews. They put in their notes from their directs, and they plop it in and say, just make this sound really nice. And they're coming up with a very positive sounding review, and they like it, and they switch it up and make it sound like themselves a little bit more.
Right.
But there's all sorts of ways. But I think that's probably it.
Yeah, that it's interesting. And I don't deal with the back end of our websites very often, not anymore. Um, but our tax practice news site is a WordPress site, and I didn't know this, but it was a predecessor. I guess it was OpenAI, but it
Mhm.
wasn't called OpenAI, I don't think. So like in the little box, but so you can go in. This was a year and a half ago, maybe. I was there and saw it, and it's prompting. It tells you, and it's scoring your title, and it's scoring your word count, and had no idea that was using it, but didn't realize what it was. Right? Just knew, well, this is kind of cool, but it's AI. And yeah, and I've used it a little bit, but I think that's the key that is for any person in any profession around any tool like this. It's new, and the only way you're really going to learn it is to just sit down and start messing with it. it can be embedded into Ignition or another tool, but until you sit down and really start playing around with it, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody can really have the appreciation for the power of the tool until they put their hands on it.
That's it. And, the other thing, and I think we've probably all said this to someone at some point in our life is, that there always is sort of that undo button. So there's no reason to be, afraid of the thing or that you're going to mess something up. You get in there, you tackle it, and you get curious. And like I said, like once you start doing it, you'll say, how did I ever live without this?
Mhm.
And that's, I think, at the point where we're at right now, especially when we look at it's 24. I keep on saying this 24, 25. For me, being in this industry for, nearly 15 years, it, it's now more than ever. I think there was a lot of cart ahead of the horses. I was there when Intuit launched QBO, and that change, and it was massive. Like, I'm never going to
Right.
QBO desktop
Oh
only.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
know my keyboard macros not going to
Uh,
change. And then we heard like vendors talking about productizing services, which eventually led to the development of like the CAS acronym. And it's all been leading up to, I think, these next couple years. And it's really embracing that change management. And it's exactly like you said, you have to just sort of bury yourself in it and figure it out. But also, these are also the year or two and beyond of the influencer. More than ever now, the industry is seeing great sort of young minds that are coming out and talking about how this can be done, and it's not
right.
scary. And not even young minds. Like there are so many wonderful people out there, communities that have just organically risen up and are helping folks. Like I think about Ryan Lazanis, who's based in Montreal. He had his firm Zen Accounting. He sold it, and now he's spending his time coaching folks on uh, in his uh, in his future firm program.
Right.
It just talks about how to transform your firm, and it focuses on how do you build out your services, like how do you effectively price those services. And he'll tell people, you know what, first order of business is like triple your pricing and see what happens. And people are super afraid of that, but once they get their head wrapped around it, and he has this community of folks that have gone through his program, and they support each other. So it's great. You can hear, talking
Hmm.
heads and say, you need to go do this, but you know it as well as I do. It's not until you hear it from someone who's done it, who's in the same profession as you, who's overcome that hurdle, taken that leap of faith, and has also, coached you through that you'll actually probably feel really good about it. And so these communities are helping folks make that transition, and that to me is more than ever one of the key things that if there's no other takeaway from today is go find those communities to help you through it. How do you find that tech stack? How do you get uh, the know how to create a package, how to define each one of those services? Like, I do tax prep. Okay, what does tax prep mean? Like break that down to its constituent parts, create a line item for each of those services, monetize how many times people can actually contact you, and put it out in the wild and see what happens. And once people do it, and I've said her name a bunch of times, but Dawn Brolin, who is an Ignition
Right.
customer, and we tried for many years to bring her on board, and she's been one of those people that's like, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier, because she's doing all of that. And one of the great things that she said, which I think everyone should take away, is the most fearful thing about raising the price is the emotion attached to it. And that's the fear, that's the hesitation. But once you take that emotion out of it, what she means by that is just like set the price and then press send. Don't have a phone call, don't do any of that. You're gonna get that's way too emotional. Press send, see what happens. You know what happens? The great clients stay, the ones you probably wanted to get rid of in the first place or erase the
Right.
bottom of pricing leave. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's not an easy process anyway, right? I mean, as a business owner, changing accountants is not, it's not the number one thing I want to do on my list. And I want to find the right one. I want it to work, and I want to never change again. And so, if things are if the relationship is good, then you literally should have a client for life.
Exactly. Right.
And
And that, and you like, okay, I'm obviously providing that value. This person is receiving that value, and you're willing to pay that money. And if you're just looking for the, someone to file your taxes for you, then, you
right.
probably aren't going to be spending, who
Well,
knows your business. Like, oh,
yeah,
we
it broke
there?
up a little bit. Yep. Now I think we're back now. But yeah, you were saying that if you're looking for the dollar, if somebody's just you know filing low end taxes, then
Yeah.
it's not a relationship, right? It's a
No,
transaction.
no. You want the trusted advisor.
Yep. So, all right. Well, were there any other points I'm looking up here on my other screen just for the study itself. Any other points? We talked about the 51% staffing shortage, 43% manual process, 35% said they have too much work,
That's right.
82% excited in AI, but only 25% are investing in it. Um, I do want to recap the one point you made, and that is about the vendors leveraging AI. Because you guys are certainly the closest ones to it. The practitioner, yes, I hear about it. Yes, I see it. Yes, it comes up, at dinner, what have you. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't necessarily. I'm not the best one to deal with it or manipulate it, right? Whereas you guys are in the trenches. You're hearing both from the accounting professional saying, "Hey, if I could only get rid of this task," and you got the developers who are going, "Oh, that's easy. We can just go, make it happen." Maybe it's not easy, but not minimizing their
Every
work,
developer right now is like,
right? Not minimizing their work, but
yeah,
it's maybe the better statement is you're right. You shouldn't be doing that. We should let the technology do that so that you
yeah,
can go and do higher value work, right? And so just touch base one more time. How
yeah.
is Ignition leveraging AI, or are you? I'm assuming you are, but
Yeah, no, we are. We definitely are. So, like I said, we're really looking at how can we help draw out. So we want to try to create as many connected systems as we can within that accounting tech stack. So the ledger being primary in all of this.
mhm,
So, what can we take from the ledger that we can then put into Ignition, whether that's, the services. So basically helping them create a template of their own services that they're already offering, putting the assumed price against that from the product. And then I think beyond that, where where we can see the future, and it's wide open. Just thinking about this idea of pricing, which is super hard. Being able to say, okay, we can benchmark what folks around you are, based on Ignition, or, based on what we know from other vendors, is we can help you benchmark that price so you feel secure in knowing that you're not way off base, whether you're lowballing, which is
mhm,
no good, or, you're putting the prices through the roof so that you become uncompetitive and people aren't going to be going to you. So that's where we see our path right now. But it begins with being able to extract the data from the likes of the vendor, being able to craft, compelling services and templates that they can then go out to their clients with assurance that this is the sort of the verbiage you need to get that hook and help them
yeah,
move forward. But I mean, in terms of, you look at beyond that, when we think about, for instance, the industry moving from like tax prep to, say, tax as a service, or CAS, um, you've got everything you would need to know in any of the financial statements or your tax returns that would enable you to then create advisory out of that. So you can learn everything about that business and then say, hey, based on your client's return, this is what you should be addressing in terms of services, whether
mhm,
that's
okay,
cash flow analysis, you name it. That to me is sort of like the wonder, being able to extract that data to tell the firm or the account, this is something that you should be focusing on that would add value. And then, if that's a relationship with the likes of, say, Intuit, then it's up to Ignition to say, hey, let's benchmark those prices for those services and help you get that out the door. So what could have taken you a month to figure out what to do now is a couple days work, if that. So that to me is like that, being able to analyze that data. That's great. That's AI. That's the best thing that's ever happened to any industry, that tells you what you should be doing. And it's that human connection that will never go away, right? I don't want
Absolutely.
a bot telling me what I need to do for my business. I'm sure it probably may be right, but I need someone to really walk me through it, tell me, hug me and say, this is for the best, right? That to
Hmm.
me will never go away.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not. Right. I'm with you.
Yeah.
We need the face to face. We need that interaction and the assurance. So we were in the green room. We were laughing about the early days of practice ignition. Uh, Guy Pearson in Scaling New Heights in New Orleans in his spacesuit. Um, where will ignition be this year? Where can people find you guys?
Yeah. Oh, awesome question. Yeah. So we will definitely be at the various AI CPA events. We're going to be heading to QuickBooks Connect. We'll be at Scaling New Heights. We're at TR Synergy. So all the biggest and best, and we'll be at various IRS events. So we're definitely going to be out there.
Oh, like
And
the nationwide forums?
yeah,
Oh, okay. Were you there this year?
we were the one in Florida.
Okay, because I went to three of them. I went to Florida. Huh. I don't remember seeing you guys there. I guess I should have looked a little bit harder.
We are there, and yeah,
Um,
we've got a great partnership with Eric Green. So we've been doing a
okay.
lot more, sort of getting ourselves out to that audience, because certainly it's tax, and again, like a lot of folks just think that Ignition is all about advisory services. If you're an exclusively tax firm, it's a great solution, just in terms of not having to go collect at the end of the season. Like
Right.
that's an added burden that no account needs to be thinking about.
Okay. How about ZeroCon? Because you work with Zero, you
Of
pretty much
course,
work with
yes,
any
yes.
GL, right?
I,
Yeah.
I'm very remiss. We will be at ZeroCon.
And then Latino Tax. Do you guys do that?
We have in the past. It's one that we are revisiting, looking at. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not going to promise that we'll be there, but it is definitely on our radar. I'm actually trying to pull up our events calendar here
Okay.
to make sure that I haven't missed anything. But I think we've covered off most of them. And of course, we're on any number of the webinars that are out there, whether that's with TRN, whether it's with is it practice advisor. So
Mhm.
we've got a whole host of virtual events, and we're at the VCons that Input hosts. So
Right.
uh, yeah.
Okay. What about in Canada?
Canada, you know what? It's there are various road shows that are going on, but Intuit hasn't come back with its big events.
Right.
Zero has its road shows that we've supported in the past. Definitely doing that. So we've done a few, but really hoping that we do see those bigger events return.
Right.
Account Techs we supported. So yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then best way to find you or point them to the website. How do people, if
Yeah,
they want to learn more
Ignition
about
app.
Ignition?
Yeah, absolutely. www.ignitionapp.com is where to get
Mhm.
us. Sign up for a free trial there. 14 days. You can talk with our sales folks, get a better understanding. And listen, I know it is tax season. I know people are in the throes of it, but I think more now than ever, and we're seeing it even late into the season already. There are lots of folks that are signing up and getting their engagements out the door because they don't want to have to deal with that down the road, having to collect. So even if you are considering making a change, you don't think now is the time, I would say now is certainly the time to think about a product like Ignition that can help you get thousands of engagements out the door within a matter of a few hours. Because what we want to do is get in the hands of the firm and then hand it over to our key accounts managers who can then get you set up and do a bulk kickoff, which is engaging all your customers. So whether it's now, whether you're anticipating tax extensions, it really is a godsend post-tax season when you're trying to collect.
Right. Well, very good. Anything you want to close up with besides that? That was pretty good.
I'll take that as my Costanza high note. Nothing else, but really do appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely. Oh, you know what? One more. The survey that we talked about.
Yeah.
Are there other parts of that survey, or is that kind of the main 3 bullet points? Is that survey somewhere where people can download it?
Yeah, if you head to the Ignition app blog, which is right on the website, you'll be able to find that. Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right. Well, there we go. We'll close it up on that, Matt. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today, and I'm sure we will see you. I'm trying to look at that list. Scaling Your Heights might be the first one that I'm at. So
I'll see you there.
Yeah, so we'll look for you there. We do appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Garrett.
All right, talk soon. This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you by Out of the Box Technology. Out of the Box Technology is your partner in accounting data services. With over 7,500 industry migrations performed and an expansive network of third-party integrations, a partnership with Out of the Box will augment your advisory practice and turbocharge client accounting operations. Visit outoftheboxtechnology.com/insightful-accountant to get started.